Hey gang, it is Revelation chapter 7. I have my trusty Dr. Pepper with me, so let's jump in. Chapter 7 expands the horrors of the persecution as it develops into full-blown Great Tribulation. Chapter 7 is parenthetical. These events actually take place later in the book when the beast comes to power and puts down everything that stands in his way. It kind of goes with the breaking of the fifth seal. So let's jump in here. Revelation 7 verse 1, Then I saw four angels standing at the four corners of the earth, holding back the four winds so they did not blow on the earth or the sea or any tree. And I saw another angel coming up from the east. Time out. So we see these angels, and it's almost like God said, stop, pause, hold still. You're not even going to see wind blow on the earth or the sea or any tree. Everything's going to pause. It's almost like there's going to be peace for a moment. And no doubt politicians or men will congratulate themselves, they'll pat themselves on the back, but the peace will actually be caused by God. It's really kind of a lull between storms. Verse 2 says, And then I saw another angel coming up from the east, carrying the seal of the living God. Now, I'm just speculating. We're speculating together. Maybe this is the same seal because we know that the end events were written from the beginning, and maybe this was the same seal that was on the seals that were broken on the scroll. We don't really know. It doesn't tell us, but that's a possibility. So he's carrying the seal of the living God, and he shouted for those four angels who'd been given the power to harm the land and the sea, wait, don't harm them until the seal has been placed on the foreheads of his servants. So when I heard how many were marked with the seal of God, 144,000 were sealed from the tribes of Israel. And then it lists the tribes of Israel. What we know is that God is not going to allow the Great Tribulation to develop until he has secured and sealed a remnant of believing Jews. We know here from this chapter there's going to be 144,000 of them. And so we see in this section that there's really two groups of people. One is the Jewish people and the other are the Gentiles. One passes through the fire of the Great Tribulation unscathed, but the other group, the Gentiles, are going to be martyred to the very last man. And maybe this is the group of martyred people where Jesus says at the breaking of, I think it was the fourth seal, there are the people underneath the throne, the souls of those underneath the throne who are, wanting their blood to be avenged because they had been martyred. And Jesus says, well, wait, not just yet. There's some more that are coming. Maybe it is this group here. And so it continues on. We see that the 12 tribes of Israel are listed here. But what we see is interesting here is we are missing the tribe of Dan and the tribe of Ephraim, and they've been replaced with the tribe of Joseph and the tribe of Benjamin. Now, that's interesting because Dan and Ephraim were known for their connection with idolatry. And for whatever reason, they're not in this list, and the tribes of Joseph and Benjamin have been added. So we have two camps, two groups of people. The Jewish people, there's 144,000 that are sealed. They're going to be protected, and that is to defy Satan's total takeover of the world. God leaves a remnant of his people here. And in the other group, the Gentiles, there's a great multitude of Gentiles who will be saved during the tribulation, who will seal their testimony with their own blood. They're going to be martyred because they refuse to deny Jesus, but this is after the rapture of the church. Verse 9, he continues, says, And after this, I saw a vast crowd, too great to count, from every nation, tribe, and people, language, standing in front of the throne and before the Lamb, and they were clothed in robes of whites, and they held palm branches in their hands, and they were shouting with a great roar, as salvation comes from our God who sits on the throne and from the Lamb. So again, here's talk of the throne. That goes back to chapter 4 and 5. So we're back in the throne room for this part. So there's the throne and there's the Lamb. Jesus is the Lamb. He's still the Savior during the tribulation. And there's this vast multitude, it says. We know on the church's birthday in Acts that 3,000 people were saved on the day of Pentecost. When Jonah went and preached at Nineveh, more than 1 million people were subsequently saved because of that event. And so we have numbers on that. And this says that there was a vast crowd, too big to number. And they're all singing. And this this worship motivates the angels and the four living beings to worship. In verse 11, it says they were standing around the throne and around the elders and the four living beings, and they fell before the throne with their faces to the ground, and they worshiped. And then they sang a song. Verse 13, it says, "Then when one of the 24 elders asked me, 'Who are these who are clothed in white, and where did they come from?'" If there's ever been a rhetorical question in the Bible, this is it. Because John even responds to him. "And I said to him, 'Sir, you're the one who knows.' Then he said, 'These are the ones who died in the great tribulation. They've washed their robes in the blood of the Lamb and made them white.'" How do you wash a sin-stained robe in the red blood of a lamb and make it white? Well, I don't know. How does a brown cow eat green grass and give white milk? That's a mystery. But we know that it's through the blood of the Lamb. There is no remission of sins without the shedding of blood. And so it's through that blood of the Lamb that allowed these people to stand before the throne in robe of white, symbolizing purity, and to worship the Lamb. In 15, 16, 17, it wraps it up saying that this group will be protected, and he's the one who sits on the throne, will give them shelter. They'll never be hungry or thirsty. They'll never be scorched by the heat. For the Lamb, this is funny, for the Lamb on the throne will be their shepherd. He will lead them to springs of life-giving water, and God will wipe every tear from their eyes. This is what Revelation chapter 7 says. Choose you today who you'll serve, and remember, I'm pulling for you because we're all in this together.